When you license the AutoCAD OEM toolkit and download it from the TechSoft 3D Developer Zone, you get a setup which looks as a typical AutoCAD install, which it is, but it includes a lot more. It includes the full developer kit for building your custom application based on AutoCAD technology. In the Windows Start menu, you'll get a program group for AutoCAD OEM containing items like tools, wizards, and documentations needed to create, test, and deploy your custom application. There's a full-blown version of AutoCAD application for testing purposes, so you don't need vanilla AutoCAD installed side by side to test the features. The MakeWizard is the main tool for developers customizing AutoCAD OEM. It's a project-based tab dialog, meaning you can create several OEM applications on your developer machine and switch between them in the wizard. This is handy if you want to examine some specific features or create a narrowed down application while troubleshooting a problem. The next tab is product specific, like naming, versioning, and thus creating a unique product identity. The AutoCAD Commands tab is for customizing each one of the 2,000 native commands that come with a full-blown product. This is where you configure the overall behavior of your custom product by either fully support an out-of-the-box feature completely, or remove it, or customize its behavior. Another option here is to make a feature unavailable to the end user, yet keep it available internally for the CAD engine and your custom runtime modules that you're creating. In the Your Modules tab, you add your custom modules, ARXs, DBXs, managed DLLs, and Lisp files. Any other files that you want to add to the native content, help files, menu files, all kinds of support files and templates. Anything native that you want to replace with your own custom version. And if you have third-party modules, you need to add them in this tab as well to have them stamped and bound with your application. I said initially that everything needed to build a custom OEM application based on AutoCAD technology is included with this toolkit. However, to build your custom runtime modules, you'd need the Visual Studio IDE and the C++ compiler installed on your developer machine. The ObjectARX SDK is included with the toolkit and is specific for OEM. To target the OEM host environment, you need to build with this version of the ObjectARX SDK, although the API is identical to the vanilla AutoCAD ObjectARX. The libraries linked with your modules and target runtime modules are different and specific for OEM. The ObjectARX SDK also includes some sample applications, both native C++ and managed samples. The demo application PolyCAD that we're going to see is based on the PolySamp ObjectARX sample application that comes with the toolkit. In the Your Modules Settings tab, you configure the identity and behavior for each runtime module that is loaded into the host application, how the module is identified, when it gets loaded, and what commands it registers. If you want your OEM application to be accessible for out-of-process applications using ActiveX, COM, you can assign the GUIDs in the Automation tab. In the User Interface section, you customize the look and feel of the runtime host by applying your own images and icons for splash screen, application buttons, Windows-specific icons, about boxes, anything that is visible to the end user while using your product. Remember, this is not AutoCAD. It's not an Autodesk product. It is your product under your company and product brand and with its own custom behavior. The native features that are critical for any CAD product are also customizable from the MakeWizard. Layer and line type controls, text styles, view manipulation controls, coordinate system settings, dimensioning. In most cases, these should be configured in synchronization with the AutoCAD commands you saw earlier. The Enable Features tab is a set of user interface related built-in features. Mainly these are all related to the Options dialog, but also support for external CAD formats is enabled here. Some user interaction, specific settings for command prompt, selecting objects in the drawing, and more. Again, these settings need to be synchronized with the AutoCAD Commands tab configuration. The Enable File Types dialog is for configuring and controlling file types associated with your product. A typical example is that you want your product to launch when the user double-clicks a DWG file on the desktop or in the Windows Explorer. In the Change Icons tab, list of icons, you can change, add, and remove icons used by your product. These are Windows and AutoCAD specific IDs and displayed runtime by both the operating system and your OEM application. The last tab, the Build tab, is where you build your product. From this tab, you also execute and test your custom OEM application. The MakeWizard stamps and binds each module to your host application and applies the configured components and look and feel to the output application. What you see is the PolyCAD product that we have created with the components, settings, and visual properties we applied using the MakeWizard. In this PolyCAD product, we have removed most of the native features not needed by our application. We have almost completely removed the ribbon content from the full-blown version, adding our own custom ribbon buttons for creating and displaying and editing our custom poly object. I'm creating a 5-side polygon, putting it in the drawing, test as a name. I'm going to use the default text style, fully integrated with the native drawing editor features like properties. And I'd also like to show how the help file system works with context-sensitive help topics for both native features, like this one, Line Type Manager, and custom features like our poly object topics, like that one. Another important tool for the developer is the InstallWizard. This tool is used to create the ready-to-distribute deployment of your product. In the InstallWizard, you point to the location of the AutoCAD OEM DVD and locate the AutoCAD OEM install, and then you point to the project file for your custom OEM application, in our case the Poly project, Poly MakeWizard project, and then the run tree for your PolyCAD application, and also an output location for the master. You can add some system fonts, shape fonts, system fonts. If you want to add some vertical specific drawing templates that are not part of your customization, you can do it here. In the Images tab, you apply your own look and feel for the splash screen, the background images, the product logos, setup icon, and company logo for your product. In the Miscellaneous tab, you can add settings for a default shortcut on a desktop, the license agreement, and alternative product descriptions for an installer. From the Build tab, you build the final deployment ready for distribution. Let's have a look at what it looks like. So this is an AutoCAD-like setup with all the contents that is configured for the product, and it's named and branded under your company and your product name, Poly in our case.